and let us all do we can to build a better future.
RFK Jr. versus Donald Trump. Now, it's an idea. It's an interesting concept. It would be an interesting toe-to-toe fight. I would tune in to watch it. Now, I made it very clear. I'm not going to vote Democrat. I'm not going to vote Republican. I'm going to vote third party, independent. Whether it's People's Party, Greens, Libertarians, Independent, whoever. Somebody needs to stand out. Now, I won't cast my vote for either party who represents the Democratic or Republican Party. However, what I find interesting is that we are seeing the fact that there's this idea of candidates and even the party itself not wanting to host primary debates or conversations, which I have to say it's foolish. And every single American should be voicing out their opinion. We want to see the debates, see the conversation. Can Joe Biden handle himself in a debate? In fact, let's have democracy in the chat. Type 1 if you think Biden can handle himself in a debate. Type 1 if you think he can. Type 2, like, no. And that's why the Democratic Party is covering for him, because they know that he's going to be stuttering and stammering, and the amount of drugs that they'll be probably pumping into him will probably make him keel over and die or go into glitch mode. Now, RFK Jr., he's been getting a lot of support in the polls. I don't agree with a lot of his comments, and if we did send an invite for him to join us on the show, we're on a list, waiting list, but I do want to ask him about his stance with Roger Waters deleting that support tweet, and also his stance on Ukraine and money in politics and so much more. Don't want to give too much away, but it's important that we hear from these politicians, that we hear who's running for office. Now, again, politicians will say things you want to hear to have you vote for them, but we need to talk about what a debate would mean. So let's talk about force of debate. And this has been trending on Twitter. I want to give a huge shout out to a good friend of the show, Case Study QB, who's been speaking truth to power and who's been wrongly censored. So first, let's pull up this video here discussing force of debate. Marianne Williamson wants a debate. Give her a chance. Give Robert Kennedy Jr. a chance to talk their own idea. And these are the only two Democratic challengers who are running in the Democratic primary. And as we have seen in 2016 and 2020 Democratic primaries, the DNC gets to control everything. There is a treasure trove of information and data out there showing that Democrats choose who they want behind closed doors. And the superdelegates do play a role in who will be the next nominee. But voters, and especially if you're a Democratic voter, you should be demanding a debate. But don't worry, the Democrats won't listen to you.
Democrats will not have any debate about it. They say Joe Biden is their candidate. There will be no primary debates. I had Marianne Williamson on. She's trying to challenge Biden. She wants a debate. Give her the chance. Give Robert Kennedy Jr. the chance to talk about their own ideas. Nope. Democrats say absolutely not. There will be no primary debates for the Democrat side. And amazingly, the Democrats will not have any debate about it.
So let's go ahead and pull up this next video here, too. And it has to deal with Piers Morgan discussing Biden and Trump not wanting to debate in their primaries. So let's pull this video up. Again, shout out to Case Study QB, who is wrongly being censored.
You know what the DNC is doing. They're just trying to protect Joe, right?
Look, there are two hopes of Joe Biden agreeing to any debate. No Hope and Bob Hope. And Bob Hope has not been with us a long time. I think that this is indicative of the general concern, I think, by his administration about exposing Joe Biden to anything, be it a press conference, be it media interviews with anyone that may ask him a tough question. You know, this guy is not in my opinion, in a cognitive place where he could handle a debate, and everybody knows that. So the pressure coming from within his own party is now really fascinating. Can you be the head of the Democrats if you genuinely don't believe in taking part in a democratic process of a debate season?
Yeah, it's a great point. However, historically, incumbents do not debate.
Yeah, that's true. But recent polling data is showing something different. Democratic voters, and this is the key word of the day, voters want something different. And there's a lot of confidence dwindling in Joe Biden. There's a lot of confidence that's falling in Joe Biden. And Democratic voters, even the most diehard vote blue no matter who, I see the chink in your armor. I know you're scared of Donald Trump, but can senile old man Biden handle it? with his approval rating still going under and Kamala's even going far, far, far under, no pun intended.
Opponents during primaries when they are primaried. And this is extraordinary that he's being primaried by Marianne Williamson, and also you've got RFK Jr. But Piers, on the other side, on the Republican side, it sounds like Donald Trump is suggesting he might skip one or two of the Republican primary debates.
And if you are a Republican voter, you should be furious too that Donald Trump would even humor that idea. I'm angry too because Trump, after that CNN town hall, oh, I am spoiled. No, you get on that debate stage, you orange Cheeto. You get on that debate stage and you entertain me. You better. Don't start acting like is Donald Trump afraid of debate? Does Donald Trump have no soul or fire? No backbone? Are you afraid to debate? I mean, come on. Trump. Don't act stupid now. It's too late in the game.
Well, again, I would say to President Trump, come on, what are you scared of? And I'd say to President Biden, what are you both scared of? You're supposed to be part of one of the great democracies of the world, right? The United States of America. Can you really not handle a debate? And if you can't handle a debate, why should anyone trust you to run the country? I think we all know why President Biden's running scared. He doesn't like exposing himself to this kind of debate in any scenario. But President Trump used to be the master of debate. He won in 2016.
He was a master debater. That was terrible. But no, Piers Morgan's correct. Trump, Biden, Democratic establishment, Republican establishment. What are you so afraid of? Biden, face off against Marianne Williamson and RFK Jr. If you think you could take them on, do it. DNC establishment and diehard vote blue no matter who, voters, sycophants, channels that support the Democrats. If you believe in your horse, Joe Biden, have him face off. Have him accept the challenge. If he's the Titan, he's got Bernie Sanders' endorsement. He's got all the Democrats endorsing him. Let's see them out. Let's see him out there. Have him fight. Unless there's something that we don't know. Maybe Joe Biden's weak. Maybe Joe Biden's afraid of RFK Jr. Hell, maybe Joe Biden's afraid of Marianne Williamson. I'd be too.
Because he stood on that debate stage and took down all his opponents. And if he's watching this now, which I'm sure he is, Fox and Friends, one of his favorite programs, I would say to him, President Trump, what are you running scared of? If you genuinely think that despite all these indictments, all this legal problem you're having, if you genuinely believe you're the right guy to run your party and to run the country again, get on that debate stage, go up against Governor Ron DeSantis and the others, and show us that you are the right guy. But if you don't, you are then doing exactly what you said Joe Biden did before. You're running scared. And I've never had Trump down as somebody who runs scared.
Hey, it's true. Very, very true. Can't argue with the fact. Maybe Trump's just afraid. I get it. I understand it. Trump, you're afraid. You're scared. And maybe he's afraid to face off against people who might challenge him. But I want to pull up this other video here as well. And again, shout out to Case Study QB. He's wrongly being censored on Twitter. He should not be. But here, discussing how the DNC doesn't get Robert Kennedy Jr. and conspiracy theories. Now, look, RFK Jr. does not fit the mold of the Democratic establishment. Now, he does point out some DNC establishment talking points. Let's be clear on that. And I'm not going to support any Democratic or Republican lawmaker. But it is without a shadow of a doubt that RFK Jr.'s campaign is still growing. This early on, before even 2024 rears its ugly head. And the Democrats know it.
Plus, the establishment Democrats, they still don't get it, right? Because the way they're viewing him is like, okay, he's this guy who spreads all these conspiracy theories, but he's a Kennedy and he's polling really well. So they don't realize that actually what's kind of might be polling really well could be conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Because of how many of them turned out to be actually true.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether a Kennedy's saying it or not. You can talk about the lab leak theory. You can talk about even the vaccine stuff. I mean, I couldn't go to Christmas, whatever year that was, because even though I got both shots, I got my second COVID that I was told I wouldn't get. So I think a lot of people are trusting a lot less. And I don't think.
And look, let's face it. There are some things that RFK Jr. said that I agree with. And I think if the Democrats think they could defeat RFK Jr., then face off against him. Faced off against Biden. Have it happen. If you think you're so confident, hey, AOC, you said that Biden is exceeding expectations. Bernie, your good friend, you gave your endorsement to your good friend Joe Biden. Ink's already dry. You think you can handle it? Or are you really afraid that you're supporting a senile old goat?
I think it's quite so easy to just say, oh, no, that's not true anymore, and have people believe you.
You know, it's interesting for me because I disagree with RFK Jr. on a number of things, including a lot of his anti-vaccine stuff 20 years ago made me nervous about the Meserol, I think was the name of it. But he's so thoughtful, and he reads and he explains things, and he keeps himself outside the prison of two ideas. So he makes himself like more persuasive. Like he's anti-nuke, but his ideas about nuclear power I've never heard of.
What is so fascinating to me about him is that that's what a Democrat was 10 years ago.
Yes.
And look at how far left they have gone. This is an individual, when you look at those numbers tell me that he is speaking to somebody who is not identifying as a Republican. Obviously, they're a Democratic voter, but they believe in things like freedom, security at the border, that there are two genders. Mm-hmm. And so when you look at that, there's so many people in the middle of the country. And in the state that I live, Connecticut, most of the above 55-year-olds that I know are Democrats, but they're not the far left Democrats. They're people that don't want business to be as big as it is, but they also believe our cities shouldn't be hellholes. Mm-hmm. And the current Democratic Party has lost sight of that. That's why RFK Jr. is speaking to so many people. And that's why the Democrats are going to be in trouble if they discount him. He may not beat Biden in the primary, but he could chip away a lot of votes from Biden in the general.
Very true. And let's look at this little thing here from Case Study QB's Twitter account. Again, hashtag force the debate. Let's make a trend. Should Joe Biden debate his Democratic challengers on national television? From the Rasmussen reports between June 4th and June 6th of this year, 2023. Yes, should debate, a whopping 74%. No, shouldn't debate, a weak and pathetic 17%. Let's have democracy in the chat. Type 1 if Joe Biden should debate. If you think, yeah, he should. Type 2, like, no, leave it all alone, Kit. Come on, leave it all alone. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I don't care. But continuing on. Again, shout out to Case Study QB, because this is where the conversation gets interesting, asking if Trump could beat Robert Kennedy Jr. And I think this would be an interesting toe-to-toe fight match. Now, Bernie Sanders was a nutless wonder, has no spine or backbone. A debate between Trump and Bernie would have been epic. I mean, it's television that we will never see in our lifetime. Hey, CNN, that would bring in the views, just so you know. Not trying to help you out because your network's going under, but you know, it is what it is.
President Trump, 45. Wouldn't you agree that he would just wipe the floor with Joe Biden, but not with RFK Jr.?
I think he could do both
Really?
pretty easily. And he wiped the floor with Biden twice. I think he could do it. But the Democrats will never let RFK Jr. win, ever, under any circumstance. Just like they were never going to let Bernie win, never under any circumstance. But interestingly, the DNC has these rules where if a primary state jumps the gun, because remember Joe Biden tried to rig this, put South Carolina first,
right,
then you can't put your name on the ballot. So Joe Biden might not be on the ballot in New Hampshire and Iowa. This guy could win New Hampshire and Iowa. And last point, interestingly, Politico had this one line that Biden's ignoring him, and they are counting on reporters and other Democrats to do the work of informing voters about Kennedy's views. I wish we could count on reporters to carry the water for Republicans, but hey.
Go ahead. It's never going to happen.
It is interesting. I would like to see, and again, you cannot deny the fact. I mean, this is something that cannot be ignored. RFK Jr. is already polling at 21% and higher now. He's gaining the support. And if he should win New Hampshire and Iowa in whopping numbers and really put Joe Biden's campaign to the task, even Obama's phone call, he probably might not be able to make a difference. Because here's the thing. What RFK Jr. is able to do is he's able to get in Republican voters and independents. Now, again, still part of the Democratic Party, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. And already we covered on previous show as well that a lot of people in Silicon Valley are giving support to RFK Jr. and donating to him. Now, again, that's big money. And Tulsi Gabbard also went on the record saying that there should be large money donors who if they love America, which they don't, should be supporting RFK Jr. RFK Jr. has the potential of building a large coalition. And our job here as an independent media network is to give an analysis and commentary on what could potentially happen. Now, again, it's still big money. And no matter what, in America, unfortunately, money in politics, the people who have the most money get what they want. But you cannot also ignore the fact that RFK Jr. has been willing to go on many different channels. He was on so many other networks and even had that Twitter Space event. We actually did a live stream coverage of it, and I'll post that link to that in this description as well, just so all of you, in case you missed out on it. We gave our coverage to it as well. He is able to build a strong coalition. That cannot be ignored. And it could give Trump a run for money. But as we have seen in 2016 and 2020, the DNC would rather rig the primary to lose a general election than to have the other opponent of the Democratic establishment win. They screwed over Bernie Sanders. They screwed over, not once but twice. They smeared Tulsi Gabbard. She spoke the truth about what would happen. So RFK Jr. and yes, Marianne Williamson's campaign and all your supporters, be ready to fight all the way. Don't give up like the cuck Bernie. We got one more video. I want to bring this up here as well. It's in regards towards, again, RFK Jr. And again, shout out to Case Study QB. Be sure to support his work. He's on YouTube and Odyssey as well. He's wrongly being censored on Twitter. Got to show love to Case Study QB because he's sitting through all this corporate BS.
What to make of Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? The environmental lawyer is gaining traction with his challenge of President Biden for the Democratic nomination. A recent CNN poll shows him with approximately 20% of the Democratic vote. And he just picked up the support of Twitter founder Jack Dorsey. Axios has detailed additional support and funding that he's receiving from Silicon Valley, saying, quote, a handful of Silicon Valley elites won't determine the presidential nominee, let alone topple an incumbent president, but they could help narrow the money gap and keep Kennedy in the race longer than a typical long shot. It's enough to make the Democratic establishment nervous. How far he can ultimately go, that's going to be determined largely by the quantity and type of media coverage he receives. Kennedy believes that he's being censored because of his controversial views, not the least of which concern vaccines. The short version, his version, is this. He believes that in the 1980s, on Ronald Reagan's watch, Big Pharma was given liability protection that spurred the unleashing of a slew of new vaccines.
And this is true. By the way, most diehard Republican voters, the reason why we have the current crop of politicians, why the Republican Party and Democratic Party are why they are and why they are in bed, taken up the wazoo by big corporate money interests, be it Wall Street, hedge fund managers, big banks, the military industrial complex, big oil, prison industrial complex, big pharma, the healthcare insurance industry, and so much more. Your boy, Ronnie Boy Reagan, opened that door and said, hey, stick it up the American people's wazoo. Started with Reagan. It's all started with Reagan. Then it was helped up by George Bush Sr., helped out by Bill Clinton, who got rid of Glass-Steagall, and all the other financial protections we had. Helped out by George Bush Jr. Yes, that clown was Dick Cheney's hand up his wazoo. Obama, remember that 2000 economic collapse? And all the help for big corporate interests? Obama helped that out. 10 years later, Fox News still misses Obama. Then Trump. Yes, Trump helped out too. And yes, finally, even Joe Biden, vote blue no matter who. The top 1% are running the show.
That ran roughshod over the regulatory process and caused a host of abnormalities, including a spike in autism. Last Monday, I spent an hour questioning him on radio and in front of a studio audience. Kennedy is verbose, and he's got a command of history as he sees it. His appearance on my radio program coincided with the 55th anniversary of the assassination of his father. He doesn't accept the Warren Commission view of his uncle's assassination, nor that Sirhan was his father's killer.
That interview that he did on Mike Tyson's podcast many years ago has been taken down. Shout out to Matt Orfala, who found that out. YouTube, I mean, did you take that down? And if he didn't take that down, did the channel take that interview down? Because that's a little bit questionable. I question it. I question it.
But there's much more to his campaign than that which gets the most attention. He strikes populist themes that remind me of a cross between Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders. As we spoke, I realized I could have spent an hour each.
He's probably getting yelled at by the producer in CNN.
On the subjects of his uncle's assassination, his father's assassination, COVID, and his campaign. I prepared by watching his 2-hour announcement, read news articles and transcripts of his recent interviews, and read his latest book, which is an indictment of the work of Dr. Anthony Fauci. I don't recall having prepared as much for any other interview I've conducted. I told him I
What do you know? CNN doing its homework. Who would have thought?
suspect he is being censored in some outlets not wanting to give heft to his conspiratorial beliefs.
Conspiratorial beliefs. Why are you talking like that, CNN? Be better. Be best. Be best, CNN. But there is no denying that RFK Jr. is building a strong movement, a momentum. Now, again, if you think that he's going to change anything, it doesn't matter who sits in the White House. It matters who's going to be part of that administration and what they're all about. Politicians will lie to you always. But a debate needs to happen. And right now, what's currently happening, and again, anything could change now. Anything can happen tomorrow or next week or next month. It's fair enough to say that. But we are in a time and era where we're seeing two parties deny the American people of seeing their candidates debate. We're seeing two people, Biden and Trump, afraid to debate. RFK Jr. wants a debate to take place, present his ideas to voters, and it's up to voters to decide. But alas, we live in a country where money is speech and corporations are people. The top 1%ers are running the show. The DNC made it clear who they want as their nominee. Bernie Sanders, the cuck, gave in and supported his friend Joe Biden right away, even though they've both been on the wrong side of history for a very long time. RFK Jr. and yes, Marianne Williamson, you must be ready to fight all the way. But if there was a debate between and a fight where RFK Jr. and Donald Trump are both the nominees for their respective parties, I would be lying to you by saying that it wouldn't be one of the most epic moments of television, where we're seeing two ideas clash, Trump versus RFK Jr. It would be must-see TV and something the American people should see. But besides that, what the American people need to be focusing on is not whose party is better, but actually building movements and organizations not connected to DC. I hope I see in this election cycle the idea and the construction and the building of third parties and independent movements, organizations not connected to the DNC and RNC, people, voters, fighting for their state to be citizen ballot initiative states, or is it at maintaining their states to be citizen ballot initiative states? That's what we need to see. That's what we need to see happen. And I do hope that this election cycle, finally people start realizing what kind of nightmare we are in.